that's the correct way to put on a training halter, like I've just put on right here. This is a halter that you would use to train a horse, which is predominantly most of the time that you're handling a horse, you're training the horse in some form of fashion. I know I did that quick, but I wanted to kind of show you in real time exactly how you would halter a horse that's trained and understands what's going on. I see a lot of people and they halter their horse and they're standing on their tippy toes. There's a couple of problems with that. One, it's hard to do, it's annoying, and trouble can happen because you may not have complete control over that horse. There's a lot of psychology to properly haltering a horse that benefits the human and benefits the horse. One thing is that horses should be taught how to be haltered from the very first time, haltered properly from the very first time. When they're yearlings, they should be taught how to drop their head and submit. This right here is a position of a lot of trust in the horse. They're extremely vulnerable in this spot, so that would mean that the horse has to have some amount of trust in you. This is also the position that you're using as you're starting a young foal, that you're putting them in a position of teaching them how to be haltered or to be bridled properly, so that you have good control, so you don't knock their teeth, so you can have control over their ears and things like that. This can take a little while to get to the point where the horse will be standing there like this, where their head is in your hand. This is also a good time when you're haltering them to rub their face, scratch their face, rub their eyes, things like that. Rub their ears. Again, horses are very vulnerable to their ears. The pole is called the friendship spot right here. That means that they usually, if you're not their friend, they don't trust you in putting your hand here. So there's a lot of things that can help benefit the horse and the human if you halter your horse properly every time. This horse has been haltered thousands and thousands of times, knows exactly what to do when it sees a halter, drops its head, but this is the proper position. Now when you're doing this, especially when you're training a horse, you got to be very careful that they don't butt you in the face with the back of their head. So keep your head off to the side, try to control their movement of their face with your hands and your armpit and your body weight to try to keep them from hurting you. Again, this is extremely important to halter your horse this way for a lot of reasons. This helps the horse build trust. It teaches the humans how to do leadership properly, how to communicate with their horse, and usually this is one of the first things that you're doing with a horse, a young horse, a foal, something like that. So this is kind of the introduction to the first thing, the first step in haltering a horse. So it's important to do it from the very beginning properly, and then just continue on. That way, again, it's easier to bridle your horse properly, halter your horse. Again, in the training phase, this is an important thing because this develops trust with your horse. So when you're beginning, the very first time you put the halter on, you're already in position of haltering the horse properly. Okay, same thing when you unhalter a horse. It's not just taking it off and letting them go. So you loosen the halter, you would drop their head down here like this, especially when you're training them. Again, you're rubbing on spots where there was pressure on their nose from the halter, or in the creases of their mouth where there was a bit, to let them, massage that soreness out or anything like that was there. Kind of rub them, rub their eyes. Horses don't have hands, so they can't rub their eyes very well. And this is a chance to rub their eyes, make them feel better, rub their cheeks, release some endorphins into them, make them feel good. Okay, one final thing. Well, we're going to do a close-up of how to properly tie a training halter. So I would take this training halter and put it on. And again, every time she raises her head above my armpit, I ask her to go down by pushing on her pole with my thumb and forefinger. Okay, now we'll go in for close-up here. This is the way you tie the halter. So when I come down, I go in through the loop, just straight through the loop, and then I go around the permanent loop that's already there, and then what happens is a new loop will be formed, and I'll pull that through. That's called a sheet bend, and it should look something like a figure eight, and this should be pointing back so that it isn't on their eye. A lot of times people tie this knot above the knot like this, and you can see that it's kind of more of an ugly knot. It doesn't hold very well. See how it loosens? So you want to tie that knot around the permanent loop. It makes a temporary loop, and then that's what it looks like in the end. So it actually goes through, and you're basically wrapping the knot around the end there. And that's it.